Hey everybody, it's Tiana Allen. You're tuned in with Let's Talk Girl Talk with Chris King and Chanel Scott.
You said put some Tory Lanez on it,
I'm real goofy, so
That's good.
I have a natural high.
All right, guys, we are back and we have Miss Tiana Allen in the building. How are you today?
Hey, well, first, thank you guys for having me on this show. I'm
Thanks
very
for being
honored.
here.
Thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Okay, well, so first, I have a holistic health studio in the Old Fourth Ward. It's called the Wellness Sanctuary. So with the Wellness Sanctuary, I've been doing this for about 13, going on actually 14 years. And so
How old are you?
I know, right?
I'll be 35 in January. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely grown woman. Okay,
Okay, grown,
100%.
real grown.
Yes. Real grown. Look, I'm at that almost 40 stage, you know.
Right.
Age ain't nothing but a number.
It
though. I'm
is
look
right.
like this forever.
That's
Amen.
right. You are, I believe
Yes,
it.
when I'm 72. So
Black
That's
don't
right.
crack.
That's right. So we read a little bit about you and a little bit about your story, and we wanted to kind of
She
hone
really got my
in.
story.
Well, we want to talk about this revelation you received about emotional abuse as it relates to relationship. We wanted to kind of delve into that because I know there are a lot of people out there that are struggling with that and dealing with that and don't really know how to handle it. Before we delve into the conversation, I want you to first of all define what that is, emotional abuse.
Okay,
And
so
we'll start there.
do you want the technical definition or do you want the definition that I perceived it to be?
I want it to be from how you perceived it to be. Right, because you're going to speak from your experience and your revelation and how you experience it in your own personal experience.
Okay, so this is kind of a difficult subject, to be perfectly honest, for me to talk about, because I think that all of us kind of at some point have experienced emotional abuse, whether it's friendship, family, relationship, or things of that nature. Me, I've experienced it in all those arenas, and seemingly all at once.
Okay.
Right? So imagine how that can kind of tear you down a little
Yeah,
bit, or
absolutely.
try to make you feel outside of yourself.
Right.
So I came to the terms of emotional abuses. First, we're all human, right? So we all make mistakes, and we all kind of do the best that we can with what we feel like the knowledge that we have, right?
Right.
But unfortunately, we're in a society nowadays where people are selfish.
Right.
And people are all about themselves, and pain makes you very selfish. So
Right.
there's a lot of people out here that are dealing with some sort of pain, whether it's been from the past, present, or current. And then a lot of people are suffering with mental illness, whether it's bipolarism, whether it's some form of anxiety, whether it's like a serious mental illness that, you know, we all see. You know, I'm not even gonna like come out with that terminology, but a lot of people do the best that they can with what they have.
Right.
So I feel
When you go through, when you have I understand what you're saying. When you have so much pain and you've hurt so bad, you start to act out.
Yes.
So it's not apparent to the outside looking in, but to them, they're acting out because they don't know how else to act because they've been hurt so many times,
Right.
and they're afraid to get hurt again.
Yes,
So they
absolutely.
project it on other people.
Absolutely. So another term that I want us to kind of hone on into is scapegoat.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of people point like you said, point their pain directly at a specific person.
Right.
Whether it's for some reason, you know, your energy kind of relates to those type of people. I always considered myself like a portal. And I'm like, why are all of these people gravitating toward me?
Right.
What is my energy doing that's allowing this stuff to gravitate toward me?
Right.
And you know, it was perceived as negative energy. But I remember I told a friend once, a lot of attacks seem like they're for you or against you,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes the attacks are for you, right?
Okay.
Because if I had not experienced all of this emotional abuse from loved ones, people who said that they loved me, people who said that they cared about me, people who said that they wanted to support me, I wouldn't have come up with this self-love event.
Right.
Right, and you wouldn't have learned a lesson that was meant for you to learn.
Yes.
So everything happens for a reason, and that's kind of hard to say if you're constantly being emotionally abused, verbally abused, physically abused. But there's always a lesson at the end of the day. It makes you stronger. But my question is, how did you cope with it? How did you get past it?
Well, it all comes down to self-love.
Okay.
And it all comes down to knowing who you are. So I want to talk about following your intuition.
Okay.
Right? We all see those red flags. You know, you dated
Right.
somebody in the beginning and you're like, oh, you know, what's going on?
Right.
You know, you feel
Right.
that little bubbly thing in your gut.
Right.
A lot of times as women, we have a hard time of
Recognizing them and
honing
moving past
into
them.
that, right?
right.
And trusting our gut feeling.
Right.
And we get ourselves into situations where we should have shot it down in the beginning
Right.
because we don't listen to ourselves a lot of the time.
Or we
Right.
just want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, you know, we give people passes.
Exactly.
You
We
know?
give people passes,
Right.
too many passes.
many passes.
Yeah, as women in general, we do
Right.
that. Men, if they see a red flag,
They're out.
they are running for
right.
the hills.
They're out.
Or
Yeah.
they're like, well, you're really pretty and you're really smart. What's wrong with you?
Right.
Right. It's easier for them to walk away. I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine. He said it's just much easier to walk away. I know for me, especially if you meet someone who you're really vibing with, you know, you're like, well, wow, maybe they had a bad day, or you want to give them an excuse. But, you know, it's important, especially in the beginning, when those red flags appear, to kind of say, okay, well, let me evaluate this situation and see if this is something that I even want to get deeper into. Because, you know, the longer you invest your time and energy, it's difficult to walk away, even when things aren't going as good.
Yeah, and we always ask, oh, God, give me a sign.
He gives them to us. Listen, I know that's
He
for me.
give us
yeah.
plenty, but we all like, I need it clear. God, give me some clear answers. I want it right in front of
Right.
my face. And he does, but we really don't
But
listen to
then,
it.
how do you differentiate though? Because relationships are not perfect, and as we all know, relationships can be messy. They're not perfect. You know, you're gonna go through some things, and you have to determine if this is worth investing your time, your energy, or do I separate? So how do you distinguish that fine line, especially when you're having a disagreement or someone is taking advantage of your kindness, or maybe you've gone all I was watching this video the other day with Derek Jackson, and it was an aha moment, because he said, you know, women, you get hurt, the reason that you get hurt more, he said, we go all out too soon. Like, and I thought about that. I'm like, you're right. Because if I like someone, I want to just love freely. I just want to just give all of myself. And sometimes you have to give it in stages. You know, you have to hold your heart back. And I'm just now learning that. And I'm 43. So at age 43, I'm just now learning how to ration out my feelings and ration out, you know, even if I'm like, okay, let me just hold back just a little bit, just to kind of see, you know, how they are, you know, because people do tend to take advantage when they feel like, well, okay, she's not going anywhere. I've been told
they
that,
can
you
see
ain't
that
going
heart
nowhere.
on your sleeve.
Yeah.
And a lot of us women do. But the thing is, relationships is all about what you can accept from a person.
Okay.
If you know that this man or woman or whatever has an attitude problem, you know, and is blatant and is clear, you know, it's about, can I accept that?
Okay.
Can I match with that? I remember
Right.
one man, he told me, he said, I'm sorry, I'm just an asshole. And I was like, oh, hello, asshole. Me sarcastic. You know, I'm sarcastic. Nice to meet you. You know, and I'm like, listen, I can match with you, you know, but will I accept that?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And can I live with that?
Right.
Can that be a good gelling relationship? Because
Right.
if you know, asshole, and I'm sitting here sarcastic, like, you know,
Right.
I think we're
Yeah.
too much, you know,
For each other,
for each
right.
other, or maybe you just met your match, and
Right.
maybe we're gonna be combative all the time.
At what point, though, do you say, okay, when they're that jerk or that asshole, at what point do you say, okay, this is emotional abuse? What you're projecting on me right now is emotional abuse. How do you distinguish? How do you identify? What does it look like?
Yeah, what are the signs for people who don't
from your
know?
experiences? Because I've experienced it, but I just want to hear from you, since you're the guest.
Yes.
I want to hear from your own personal experience. You don't have to go into, unless you just want to share. Give us a picture of what that looks like so that the listeners can know, okay, because typically, like when on the show, just to give you a little bit of backdrop, as we're talking, our listeners are listening to you, and they're thinking through their own personal experiences, and they're going to be like, okay, yeah, I experienced that, so that's emotional abuse.
Yeah, I understand,
and I need to do something different.
I understand, but I'm gonna give you a snippet. So, I had a relationship where the guy that I was dating and I was in love with, he was jealous that I was more successful than he was.
That's a whole nother topic, girl.
Yes. So he came across as a successful man with businesses and all of that, I think to match with me. But of course, we're not that concerned about all of that. I mean, some women are, don't get me wrong. Some women want the money and the cars and all that. I personally am not. I'm about, if you are passionate, just as passionate as I am, if you give me just as much support as I give you, I don't care where you are in life, just as long as you're getting there, and that's just as long as you love what you do and you have passion about it. I'm extremely serious about what I do. I'm extremely serious about my businesses and the work that I had to put into it. Right, a lot of people see that after effect, and they see, oh, well, you're successful, and you got this, and they think you got all this money, or they think you got all this notoriety and stuff, and it's like, you don't see all the hard work that I had to put into. You don't see all the sacrifice, all the late nights, early mornings, and listen, I'll be perfectly honest, I cry almost every day. I'm praying to God almost every day, like, God, what is today going to be like? Right? As a business owner, you don't know what your day is going to be like. It can be a slow day, it can be a busy day, it can be a whatever day, and then balancing your personal life in between that, that's a whole nother topic of discussion. Right? But, people see that after effect. So, unfortunately, this man just saw that. All that superficiality, and he saw where he wanted to be and where he wasn't. So he approached me like he was a successful person, talking about all these successes and everything. And I remember at one point I said, I don't really care about that. I really like you. I want to know about you. But unfortunately, the relationship, of course, didn't work out. It didn't work out. So, but it ended on a bad note because it turned emotionally abusive. And it was the point that I realized that it was emotional abuse was when he would provoke arguments. He would provoke arguments to the point where I was always wrong. I was always the problem. I was always the blame. Whatever bad day he was having or whatever thing he was going through was, Tiana, you did this, and you that, and you. And
he never was accountable or took responsibility.
Never took accountability.
I know men like that.
Yes, this is a man nearly 40 years old and never took accountability, never apologized.
Never saw his wrong.
No. And it would be clear evidence, and I would be like, no, and I would screenshot text messages that, you said this. Listen, clear as day, you wrote this with your own big ass thumbs, seriously. And this is you, sir, right? And you now are being controlling, and you now are being abusive, and I'm not going to take that, because guess what? I know who Tiana is, and Tiana is not this of what you're trying to say,
And see, that's good. You know who you are, and you didn't let all of that down talking to you affect, what you thought about yourself and your mental. I do want to take a quick break, and I want to come back with asking you how you take those experiences and move forward and have a healthy and striving relationship.
And then that's what we're going to talk about, boundaries.
Boundaries, yeah, that's important.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a good place to leave off at. It's hard to set boundaries.
Yes.
Emotional abuse, guys. You got it right here, Miss Tiana Allen.
All right, so we're back with Miss Tiana Allen, owner of the Wellness Sanctuary. Now, so we left off with you talking about taking those emotional abuse experiences and moving forward and having a healthy and striving relationship. And you said boundaries. So is that how you strive to have a healthy relationship, by setting those boundaries?
Yeah, absolutely. I do now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I set them stronger. I mean, if I thought that I had boundaries before, I am extremely serious about my personal space and my energy and the energy that I allow in my personal space. And I think a lot of us women need to definitely hone into that too. I mean, placing boundaries doesn't mean that you're mean.
Right.
Doesn't mean that you're being you can be assertive, but it doesn't mean that you're a specific way.
Right.
You know, a lot of people get in their feelings a lot, and they're like, well, why you don't call me anymore? You know, or we used to hang out, or, you know, hey, girl, why you don't want to talk to me? You know, it's boundaries. It's about what you're allowing in your personal space.
Okay. So what does that look like? Especially, I understand what it looks like when you initially meet someone, you know, because clearly you can't start acting out at the initial meeting.
Yeah. First impressions are very important.
Those are important, but when you get acquainted, because I think I want to delve into that so that our listeners can really learn from this. Once you get acquainted from someone and you determine within yourself, this person has potential. Okay? And then, you know, as we grow more and more emotionally invested in the relationship, we still have to set boundaries, especially during the date. Well, period, but during the dating process, because you're still gathering information. So what does that boundary look like once you've gotten acquainted, once you've made some emotional investments? Because that's when you get emotionally abused. Like, I don't think someone can really get that off if we just got acquainted and I don't really know him that well. But once we get emotionally invested, that's when we suffer the most damage, because our hearts are open. You know, we're more receptive of the hurt. So what does those boundaries, what do they look like when you set them at that stage in the relationship?
Well, keep in mind, I mean, it can happen to both male and female, right? So, you know, I know a lot of us women, you know, we have a issue with, you know, setting boundaries and having our heart on our sleeves too. But there's some men out here who, you know, are the same way as well, like real soft. But anyway.
Why I gotta be soft?
Yeah,
why I gotta be soft?
A little too hardcore, a little too soft. It's like, where the men that's in between?
Right.
It's like a little bit of both. But anyway.
You need some. I like that man.
Right.
Yeah.
That Mufasa.
Listen, and I'm little, so I'm gonna need somebody to be like, you know, if I have an issue with somebody, I'm gonna need somebody to be like, hey, yo, T, is it a problem? Let's do something. You know? Because people try to mess, you know.
And I think I think if you wait until you're all open to set the boundaries, that's when you set yourself up for, you know, failure. If you set them strong in the beginning, then they'll already know not to cross that line or to go there later on.
Yeah, so you have to be definitely transparent with this person that you're very interested in. Right? Because sometimes it takes a while for, you know, you to be all into somebody in that way. I mean, for some people it's a little less time. Some people it takes a long time. It depends on whatever your heart says, right? So first, we're following our intuition, right? And secondly, we're being transparent and creating boundaries. Hey, I'm not interested in this type of personality. So if that person is displaying, and we're going back to, you know, somebody being an asshole or whatever, if that's not conducive to your personality, if you know it's not going to sit well with you, then why are you entertaining it? You know, if somebody's an introvert, I mean, I can be introverted at sometimes, but I'm more of an extrovert. I get my energy from other people, right? So I'm going to need somebody to counter me. I mean, you can be an introvert as well, but a super introvert where you never do anything and you always want me to come over, that's not going to be cool, because I'm like, what's the rest of the outside world doing? You know,
Right.
I know it's cool, intimate, and me and you want to spend some quality time, but I'm not sure if that's going to be conducive to me
Right.
and what I'm interested in, or that super extrovert, that person who's over age and still partying and hanging out a lot
In the club.
in the club,
With
and you're
a
almost
daddy
50.
suit on.
I mean, I'm sorry, no offense, but it's
Right.
like, if that's your personality, is it going to sit well? Are you going to be able to accept that in a relationship? You know?
Right. So what I hear you saying is basically you have to know what you want.
Right,
Yes.
that's what I hear too.
Yeah, and once
Both
you know
parties.
and both parties. And once you know what you want, you don't settle.
Yes.
You know, I don't care how difficult it is to meet someone that you really like.
Yeah.
You know, you decide, okay, hey, this is either a good match or it's not, and you know, be okay with walking away if that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
But not let someone intrude in your space knowing that it's not a good fit.
Yes.
And I think some of us women are really guilty of that. What were you gonna say?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No,
I was
that's
going to
okay.
say, and sometimes we have to settle a little, because guess what? We're all still human.
See,
Right.
see,
Nobody's
I'm about to start
perfect.
another topic. Let's settle it a little. Like, and I get you.
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes you do have to say, okay, well,
Well,
this person
okay,
isn't
this is what
perfect.
you're willing to accept.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so okay, so this guy's got all this attributes that you're interested in, but he had crooked teeth.
Okay.
You know, and it's like that settles
I
a
can't.
little.
I can't.
You gotta kiss that. No.
Now I love a good smile and some
Yes.
nice shoes.
Yes,
That's the first thing I look
girl.
at.
I love a
girl.
man
Like,
with some
mhm.
swag.
And some nice hands, smooth
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah, you know, my mama said if you got smooth hands, then
Now,
you ain't, you
my
ain't doing no hard
husband
labor.
has the most beautiful hands. He got a,
I like nice
a
hands,
little
too.
callous, but he keep them clean.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Okay, so
I like
you the
a man
married
with nice
one.
hands,
You
too.
the single one.
Yes,
Right.
I'm single.
Okay. So I'm talking to you.
That's right. But she got a lot of insight on the single too. Yeah. But I mean, like, you know, because when I see a man that I'm interested in, I do look at their hands. 'Cause I'm like, okay, can his hands really touch my body? I'm gonna be
Yeah.
okay with that.
Mhm.
You know, he
Are
can
they
have like
ashy? Are they
a
dirty?
bitten off fingernails and dirt. I look at stuff like that,
Mhm.
you know, and I'm like, okay, no.
Okay, so he can be successful, pockets full,
Yes.
nice car, nice crib, but like she said, his teeth is crooked.
How crooked?
That's
Okay,
you
so,
wanna be
so
interested?
let me ask you that.
Listen, teeth could be fixed.
His teeth is
That's what-
crooked, but are they clean?
Right.
Does he have a lot of plaque? You know how they have plaque
Yes.
at the bottom? Is his
Yes.
breath stank? You know, because it's out. Because we
said
I can't
crooked.
stand. I see people and they got that, you know, spit on the side.
Yeah, yeah. So as long as he don't have like
If
the
I can see you,
buildup.
I gotta see you kissing me. I gotta see you like in my face. You know, like I can't have none of that. Like
Right.
that's one of my
Right.
boundaries. Okay.
Okay, so I'm just wanting to see if the money and the superficial and the materialistic things outweigh,
You know, for some people they do. Some
Yeah.
people they really look at
Because I
that.
have been in situations like that where it's like, you know, you're in love with that person's spirit and, you know, their personality. And you can say, well, okay, you know, I don't even see that. You know, as long as it's clean. I just
Yeah.
need it to be clean. I don't know how we got on
I know.
what we
I know.
like and what we don't like.
So they can be
talking about boundaries.
your teeth can be throwing gang signs
Boundaries.
as long as they clean
Right.
and nails gonna give you a chance.
Woo! No, they can't be. Like you said, a little crooked now. Because I want to know why your teeth crooked like gang signs and you got money
Like
in your
gang
side like that. Like, nah, you know, like if you got a little. So before we go, Tiana, I want you to tell us a little bit
We're
about.
about to go. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm just getting started.
It's always fun when we talk girl talk.
Yeah, so I want you to tell our listeners how they can get that box
I
over there. It's wrapped
know.
so
Let's
pretty.
see this thing.
Yeah.
Well, so we talked about following your intuition.
Okay.
We talked about what emotional abuse could look like, and we also talked about boundaries. Now we're
Yes.
going to talk about self-love.
Okay.
Right, so
Self-love.
we kind of left off with knowing what you want in a relationship or knowing what you want in life in general.
Okay.
I mean, I think a lot of us are kind of depleted of self-love and knowing who we are,
Right.
And that way, people are so confused about how do I set boundaries? You know, how do I follow my intuition? I remember one of my clients literally asked me, teach her how to love herself more.
Right. I had that. I dealt with that.
Yes.
Am dealing with that.
I thought that was very
Yeah.
profound because I'm like, you don't know how to love yourself?
Yeah.
Well, it's hard. Like
Yeah.
if you like even being married, just having a husband and kids and work, it's hard to find time to take care of yourself and love yourself and just have that. Even if you just have 20 minutes to yourself to love yourself, to reevaluate.
Yeah.
It's hard, but it's
Right.
possible.
It is really hard, and it
important.
also is very possible. A lot of people think that self-love is selfish, or self-care is selfish. And it doesn't necessarily mean a spa day or whatever. It's about taking time out to reflect back on you, back to you.
Or just having that discipline, going back to the topic of emotional abuse. Sometimes we love a person so much, we don't know how to walk away, or we don't have the discipline. Or we're afraid we're going to be alone. Or, we don't want to meet the next person. Or, that all that stuff that goes through our heads is about having the discipline and loving ourselves enough to know that there is someone else out there that can treat us the way that we deserve to be treated.
Yeah, or our Almighty God.
Yes.
He's always there.
Always.
And sometimes we totally forget that, and we're like,
we
oh,
do.
I need a man, or I need a woman, my family, or whatever. I personally had to walk away from my own family in order to get to where God was trying to lead me, and that's another story too. That was hard, but definitely necessary.
Right,
Fortunately, but unfortunately, very necessary for me, because I wouldn't be where I am today, sitting on Let's Talk Girl Talk.
Yes,
today.
let's talk.
If I was still in Chicago, with
Right.
my family, love them very much, but sometimes you just have to walk away from things that are no longer serving you,
Right.
in order to get to where God is trying to lead you.
Amen.
Sometimes we forget that.
Yeah.
Right.
And we forget that when you have a family, you're a wife, you got kids and everything, how do you take time out for yourself? How do you do that? First of all, that's why God invented closets, okay? Because I hide in the closet every now and again.
I know
Take
that's
a
right.
long bath, whatever
Right.
that is, to get back to center. I had a conversation, and I know we got to go. I had a conversation with another client just last night, and going through a divorce, trying to figure out who herself is again, and we just had this talk. Now, I gave her a massage, but we sitting here having therapy sessions. Sometimes it's like massage therapy, right?
Right.
So she's talking about, how is she going to do this? She got these kids and she needs to work and, all of this stuff in her head. And I'm diverting the conversation back to, okay, well, what did you used to do before you were married?
Right. That's good.
So she started listing all these
Right.
things, and I used to do this. Oh man, I forgot that I
Right.
love to do that. I forgot that so she forgot herself.
Right.
And so I just simply reminded her,
Right.
who she was at her core.
Right.
Right,
So-
because who you are never leaves you, right?
Right.
So again, it all ties back to self-love.
Right.
Okay? So now we have these self-love boxes that
What's
we...
in this box? honey?
Yes.
Because I want to take it home. Tell them what's in the box and how they can win it.
Is it for them?
It's for the winner, whoever.
For the winner,
wins,
okay.
for the giveaway.
So we're doing this giveaway, and we want people to show us what they're doing for self-care or self-love. So we're doing this self-care challenge. So we want listeners and viewers and people who follow me on the Wellness Sanctuary Inc. at Instagram and Facebook to hashtag self-care challenge and show us pictures and things that they're doing for themselves.
Okay.
And so they can win this lovely box, and it's full of a bunch of spa products and lovely things. We got a journal in there. We got positive affirmations, kind of bring you back to yourself and bring you back to center. We do a meditation class, a free meditation class every other Wednesday to pretty much showcase all of that as well too. But anyway, we want you to hashtag self-care challenge.
And
on
where are they
social
going to
media.
hashtag? On your page, right? The
yeah.
Wellness Sanctuary, guys.
You can add me, the Wellness Sanctuary Inc. on your page, or you can tag me in a picture, however you feel
Okay.
comfortable with sending that.
Okay, and you'll check the hashtags.
I will.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, guys. I'm going to be taking my picture and I'm going to be hashtagging up something because I
Yes.
want my spot product.
Yes, ma'am. All right,
We
guys.
got a lot more.
That
Yes.
concludes our show, actually. So before we end, where can they find you, Chris?
Yes, you know you guys can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Lovesick, LUVVSYC.
Okay, well, you guys can find me at Chanel Nicole Scott on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We will see you next week, same place, 7 p.m. Let's Talk Girl Talk.
Thank you so much for
Thank
being
Thank you,
here.
Tiana.
I appreciate it.